Is blindness a barrier? No.
Is deafness a barrier? No.
Are mobility, learning, cognitive disabilities, speech impairments and others, or even a combination of them, barriers? No way. Lack of accessibility is.
Welcome to Web Accessibility for All.
Follow the blind. This journey starts now.
All right, team. We have officially locked in a world-class bulletproof roadmap. We are positioned for an absolute win here. Who wants to kick off the status? Leo, you checked out those dialogue bugs?
Yeah. I looked at them, it's just a lot of things going on in there. I don't even know what's real anymore.
Okay, you want to give us the optimistic version first?
Well, the good news is they all look kind of the same, I think. They're all doing something weird, but it's the exact same kind of weird.
Beautiful! Consistency!
The reality is, I have no idea how it's even running. It's like, sprayed it everywhere. It's on 23 different screens.
But isn't that actually a good thing?
Honestly, I wouldn't touch it.
Oh, it gets so much better. 3 separate feature teams tried to hotfix this, and every single one of them managed to introduce a new failure.
So that's why those tickets failed validation?
Failed? Once the user tabs in, nothing escapes.
I'm not helping the cause either. The audit didn't miss anything, and the automated screeners didn't either. The actual users we brought in for testing last week did.
What do you mean?
Look, let's be honest, okay? Screen reader users couldn't even find the dialogue. And what about the low vision users? Turns out our approved remediation plan only covers about 40% of the actual train wreck.
Good morning, Rockstars. Happy Tuesday. Just a quick sanity check for the steering committee. We are still 100% greenlit and on track for the original end-of-month deployment window, right?
Which schedule exactly?
The compliance schedule?
Hey my friend, welcome to the second and final episode of this mini-series about Accessibility Remediation Plans. In the first episode, we focused on planning, but now it's time to talk about execution. A remediation plan actually is easy to create. Keeping it alive? Well, that's a different story. New findings appear, features keep shipping, deadlines don't move at all, validation fails again and again, priorities change, and that's when things get a little crazy. Ariel here, and welcome back to Web Accessibility for All.
Remediation execution strategies.
Once a team finally hands over a finished remediation plan, the big question on everyone's minds becomes:
how are we actually going to execute this work?
Strategy 1: Incremental remediation.
This is the most aggressive approach. The organization decides.
Everything stops. We're fixing accessibility.
Most companies go this route because they have to. Whether it's legal pressure, contracts, a mandate from upper management, or a brutal audit that finally wakes everyone up. The advantage is obvious. Progress happens fast. But the main risk isn't the tech, it's the organization itself. A few months later, leadership starts asking, why feature delivery has slowed down? And that's when the remediation effort can start losing support. The reality? You can't just freeze product work for months. A quick Big Bang fix works, but only if the whole organization is all in.
Strategy 2: Incremental remediation.
This is probably the most common approach. Instead of fixing everything at once, teams spread remediation across multiple releases. For example, one quarter might focus on authentication and onboarding. The next quarter, account management and reporting. The good thing is it's way easier to just fold accessibility into your usual development cycle. The bad thing, if priorities shift, the momentum completely dies, which is exactly what happens in many companies.
Strategy 3: The hybrid approach.
A lot of companies end up going this route because it strikes a good balance between fixing things and still delivering new features. For example, a team may dedicate a slice of every sprint to fixing all bugs while shipping new features. At the same time, they are improving their design system, boosting testing, and making accessibility reviews a standard step.
A real-world remediation plan.
Imagine a mid-sized company. The team receives an accessibility audit with 47 findings. Not 47 tickets, 47 findings.
Step 1: Define scope boundaries.
The first thing the team does is define the scope of the remediation cycle. Not what gets fixed first, but what gets included. They look at the application and decides.
In this cycle, we're only focusing on authentication, onboarding, and account settings.
Step 2: Analyze before estimating.
The team reviews the findings together. The devs pick up the complex dependencies. QA talks about testing roadblocks. Design catches user experience impacts. And product looks at delivery constraints. We aren't trying to fix everything today. We just need to understand the work before we locked it in.
Step 3: Organize work into phases.
The team decides to work in phases. To keep things manageable, they organize the work into 4 phases. Phase 1 focuses on critical blockers, the issues that prevent users from completing important tasks. Phase 2 targets shared components, the kind of fixes that can eliminate dozens of findings at once. Phase 3 addresses workflow and usability issues, the problems that create friction, confusion, or unnecessary cognitive load. And finally, Phase 4, the remaining isolated issues.
Step 4: Protect the scope.
1 month into the remediation effort, product approaches the team.
Can we add a few more areas while we're already working on accessibility?
But the problem is that every new addition affects the plan. Timelines change again. Estimates change again. The scope grows. The remediation plan stops being a plan. It becomes a moving target.
Who owns and protects the Accessibility Remediation Plan?
The person who should defend the plan is the person who owns it, and that is usually product. Product approves the scope, priorities, timeline, and resources. If product keeps changing the scope every few weeks, they are just breaking their own plan.
Step 5: Revalidate the fixes.
Once the work is complete, the team verifies the results. Not every fix works the first time. Some issues come back, some cause regressions, and some need tweaking. That's normal. Remediation doesn't end when the code is merged. It ends when the barriers are gone.
So guys, was the remediation successful?
How to measure accessibility remediation success.
Revalidation is the first success metric.
This is the first and most important measurement. not.
Did we complete the work? Did we close the tickets? Did we spend the budget?
The question is,
Did we actually remove the barriers?
that's really what revalidation is trying to find out.
Success means more than audit compliance.
Let's say revalidation goes well. Great. Now we have other questions to ask.
Did the user experience actually improve? Can users complete tasks they couldn't complete before? Do they need less assistance? Do they encounter fewer barriers? Are common workflows easier to understand?
We are talking about people. This isn't about fixing a technical glitch. It's about tearing down the walls we are sometimes building in front of our users.
The next audit reveals the truth.
Here's something a lot of teams overlook. The next audit is usually a much better measure of success than the one you're working right now. I mean, imagine looking at an audit 6 months later and seeing the exact same issues.
Oh no.
The problem isn't your remediation effort anymore. It's the process that keeps turning out the same bugs. Maybe the component library is still broken. Maybe bad design patterns keep getting copied. Or just teams don't know what accessible behavior it's supposed to look like. By this point, the remediation plan exists. The scope is approved. The work is underway. And then reality shows up, not in the form of code, but in the form of people. People with concerns. People carrying assumptions that may have worked 10 years ago. People who might be responsible to move the team forward.
3 difficult conversations every remediation effort must address.
Engineering perspective, Robert.
Robert manages several teams. Like most places, they build their platform using third-party libraries. But as they analyze the remediation data, a clear pattern emerges. A massive number of accessibility bugs are coming directly from the libraries they depend on. Robert looks at the report and says,
Hold on. We spent a lot of money adopting these libraries. We've built hundreds of features on top of them. If we start replacing components or rewriting implementations or moving away from those libraries, we're talking about a massive investment.
That's a fair question, and one of the hardest to answer. My advice? Identify which barriers create an acceptable risk and decide if waiting for the vendor is a real strategy or just a hope. Users don't care whose code caused the barrier. They just care if they can finish the task.
Delivery perspective, Samantha.
Samantha manages delivery for several teams. Without fail, every quarter she ends up facing the same questions over and over.
What's shipping? What's delayed?
Can we commit to this release?
Can we commit to the next one?
Then the accessibility plan starts, and Samantha knows this is a problem. Nobody wants to talk about timelines anymore. And eventually she asks,
If we can't accurately estimate many of these fixes, how are we supposed to fit remediation into a predictable release cadence? And realistically, are we supposed to dedicate one group of people to creating features and another group to fixing accessibility? Because that sounds expensive and difficult to sustain.
The problem is that remediation often starts with uncertainty. I believe it's important to accept that remediation is a capacity planning exercise, not a prediction exercise. The organizations that handle it best don't eliminate uncertainty. They create enough flexibility to absorb it.
Business perspective, Michael.
Michael is checking out the latest status on the fixes. Pretty much everything is resolved, and the VPAT is good to go. Then Michael looks around at everyone and asks,
if we've updated the VPAT, passed revalidation, and can continue releasing features, why are we still talking about accessibility?
Remediation fixes current problems, not future ones. The VPAT is just a snapshot, but products change. Bottom line, the VPAT reflects where we are today. Our processes determine where we'll be tomorrow.
Building processes that prevent future accessibility barriers.
Let's go back to that meeting room one last time. The audit is gone. The remediation plan is complete. The team is wrapping up. Some estimates were wrong. Some findings took longer than expected. New issues appeared along the way, and the team had to defend the scope more than once. But this time, something is different, because the team understands. Accessibility remediation is not about reacting to findings. It's about making decisions that protect the users and your team. Thank you for joining me for this two-part series on accessibility remediation plans. Until next time, keep building experiences that work for everyone. Goodbye.
Thanks for joining us today. Subscribe for a new challenge next week. And don't be shy. Leave us a review or ask your accessibility questions online. See you next week for another episode of Web Accessibility for All.